everybody, Dagmar Bryant, Mindset and Transformational Coach, coming to you today to talk about our belief systems. I think every now and then we need to check in with ourselves where we gained some of our beliefs. A lot of our beliefs initially come from our immediate family, specifically our father and mother, and potentially uncles, aunts, siblings. And that's great when we're little because they are going to be our influences. In some situations, that's not so good, where you have cases where the family is not particularly loving and warm, but that is where a lot of our initial belief systems are formed. As we grow up into adults and have our own experiences, that's then where we have further belief systems that are formed, and we might decide that we don't like a particular thing or that we don't like the way someone is doing things. That's because of our own belief systems. We might have negative experiences with a particular person and then decide that that whole particular culture or race is bad. And that's not necessarily the case. Often our beliefs can come about from one particular experience, which clouds everything for us. And that's where I say to you, maybe it's time to check in where you got some of your belief systems. All men aren't bad just because someone beat you when you were a kid. What's another great example that I can give you? Anyway, I can't think of one at the top of my head at the moment. But just because one thing happens doesn't make it a generalization or an all-encompassing overriding factor. Just because Hitler was a bad man, there you go, there's my example, doesn't mean that all Germans are bad. And I know I copped a lot of that discrimination when I was little, when we first moved to Australia. People would call me Little Hitler. And I remember coming home crying. I was 6 years old, crying and saying to my mum, "Who's Hitler? Who's this person that they're talking about?" And you've got to understand, this was back in the 70s, yet it was still more than 25 years after more than 30 years after the end of World War II. People still had a lot of discrimination against Germans, or at least they did in Australia. So that was quite an eye-opener for me. But see how I can say to you that is an example where just because one person is bad in a particular culture doesn't mean that everybody from that culture is bad or that they agreed with that particular person. And I know in a lot of cases that's how racism occurs. You might also have the example of seeing someone getting hypnotized on a stage, and you see that performance and you go, no, hypnotism doesn't work, it's all a gag, it's all a scam. But when you actually look into it further, hypnotherapy is a very valuable healing tool. So there's always more information than perhaps the experience that we've had. And I encourage you to look into more information and just check your belief systems about where you got that information from. Was it from one experience? Was it from many experiences? And sometimes that just doesn't translate to one lifetime. It can translate over many lifetimes. Remember, well, I believe that we've been here many times before, and if we've had similar experiences, that's going to leave a little bit of a thread going through the course of our lives. Anyway, belief systems is what I'd like you to look into today, and it's a great time to do some journaling or to really look into it in your thoughts or meditation and check in with yourself about your own experiences, whether they've left positive or negative experiences on your mindset. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you again tomorrow.